Hey everyone, Jim T. Graham with RCGroups.com, and it's another live hangout, and today we have a couple of interesting things. We have Mr. Chad Budreau. He is with the AMA Government Relations Team. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you.
And we also have Jason Cole. Now, Jason Cole isn't out of the ordinary, but the fact that he and John from Eagle Tree are in Croatia right now competing on drone wars, that's not normal. So, guys, let's start there, since at any moment your internet feed could turn in, just fizzle away like a firecracker. What's going on in Croatia?
Yeah, man, what's up, everybody? It is 9 o'clock at night here, and I still think I'm getting over the jet lag a little bit. It's a little bit strange, but man, we've been having a blast. Everything's awesome. We did start our first day of filming today. Long day. And we can't really talk about details, but I think it's pretty dang awesome.
It's a cool experience, man. Just not even just being in Croatia, which is awesome by itself, but yeah, it's really cool to see how all this stuff works.
So can you talk about where all the teams are from?
Yeah, so there's teams from Mexico. There's a team from
pretty good, Jason.
The Wankers. I don't know if that's what they call them.
Is there a Danish team?
There's no Danish team. I think the rest are from America.
And one half of the team is Croatian.
Is a Croatian? Yeah.
Well, you're lucky there's no Danish team, because they would kill you all. So.
It is pretty cool, though. So today we got our challenge. Like, it has been a secret as to what exactly we were going to be doing. We knew it was some sort of challenge or contest or something like that. But today we got the first kind of episode of the show where we find out what it is we have to build and do, and we got to kind of start looking at parts and pieces and I don't want to go into too much details, but we get another day to build, and then we're going to compete and do the thing on Saturday. And we're excited about it. I think I'm going to make the call right now that we're going to do pretty darn well.
Jason, I heard your first challenge was to stay healthy. How did that one work out for you?
Yeah, not so well. Right on cue, right? You called it. Yeah, so I got sick like day 2 of being here, and I guess I said, John, you got to be with me, man. We're teammates, and gave it to him.
He flooded the apartment with his spores.
So you can see our apartment here. This is almost it. This is the kitchen. We got a living room to our left, and then 2 bedrooms. So John and I get 1 bedroom with 2 beds, and then the Mexicans get another bedroom with 2 beds. Stress the 2 beds, but John's been sleeping on the couch actually, and we got a bathroom around the corner. But it's pretty small. The beds are pretty hard. But it's a nice place. We got a really awesome pool out back.
Yeah, that's the best part about it. It is small, but you walk out 50 meters and you're by an awesome Mediterranean pool with awesome temperatures. You can sleep outside here.
And like a 10-minute walk from here, we go down to it's kind of a beach, but it's the sea, and it's not really beachy sand, but it's like rock and cliffs and stuff.
Like a bay.
Yeah, like a bay. And it is beautiful. The sunsets are amazing, and there's this like a tiki kind of bar place where you can get drinks, and they've got pizza and hamburgers and ice cream and everything.
Dr. Pepper.
Expensive.
Yeah, how about the chicken wing situation? Are there any chicken wings for you? Because I know that's all you eat.
I haven't had chicken yet. I don't think I've had chicken since I've been here, which is unfortunate. But I am a
That's
pizza
why you're
guy.
sick, dude.
Actually, I just baked my own pizza to have for dinner tonight.
Whoa,
Right.
just dropped it on
I almost stopped it. That would have been heartbreaking because I haven't had food in a while.
My main curiosity was about equipment. I know you brought equipment with you, but do they have equipment there at all, or is it all based on what you brought?
You got to watch the show for that, but it's quite interesting, and we may have an advantage in that area, but we'll see.
So did you fly on day 1?
I will say we do have a whiteboard in this area that we get to build, and we both have strategically placed the Eagle Tree logo and the RC Groups logo on the whiteboard.
That's right.
For all to see. So we're excited about that.
On the one hand, I want you to do well. On the other hand, I don't want you to be gone for very long. So I'm not exactly sure how to feel about the whole thing.
Well, let me give you some news here. So
I wouldn't get too detailed other than saying that the chance of us staying till the end is very, very, very likely.
All right.
Matt Gunn, you may have to drive to Nashville so we can do some videos together.
But we could be
I think I can manage that. I'd love to come down and stay with you.
All right, guys. Well, that sounds exciting. It sounds like you can't talk about very much either. So is there anything you want to say before we jump out and start talking about the FAA?
Oh, yeah. So I have one more thing. We're with an awesome bunch of guys and competitors, you know, from not all over the world, but a good part of the world in the United States. But I've met some great new people that I haven't met before at racing events, and some that I've actually been to with them, and we just never got to meet. But one of the guys is a designer, and his design is in the hands of the top 3 racers in the world right now. And they saw it as a prototype, fell in love with it, and just needed it. They had to have it. So I'm going to get an interview with him. Unfortunately, his stuff it wasn't customs, but
it's not here. He's here, but his stuff isn't here.
So when he gets his stuff here, I will be doing an off-the-show kind of thing where we do an interview, and I'll do an article and story about his frame and what's going on and some cool stuff there. So we are still, while we're in Croatia, we're still getting cool RC news to bring out to you.
Awesome. So for all of you, and now I'm going to switch over here, for all of you that don't know, the FAA put 107 into effect on Monday, and so we're going to talk about what that means, what that doesn't mean. Also, just to keep you hanging on, Mr. Matt Gunn also became one of the first people to take the test for the 107, and he passed it, which I think was because he's actually taken a pilot's test before, and I think that had a lot to do with that, but we're going to talk about that as well. So without further ado, we're going to jump over to Chad Budreau. I love your last name. Let's talk about that later. He is he's with the AMA Government Relations Team. So I'm assuming, Chad, you have all the good information.
Oh, and it's changing daily. What we know today will probably change tomorrow,
Right.
Which is good because the government has been kind of slow to react for a while, and they pushed out 107 finally, so that's good and encouraging, and they're looking at continuing to expand the waiver options with that, and of course the big issue was FPV. So we just came back from a meeting with the FAA just a couple days ago, and it's a lot of good stuff on the horizon.
So the way I interpret it, and just like you said, it has changed so much that I put almost no stock in anything anyone says. I'm waiting for it to all settle and then stay that way for about 6 months, which has not occurred at this point.
No, and it's interesting because there's a group of people who'd say they don't want that. It's moving so quickly that government's not designed to move fast. It never was, but the technology is moving at such a pace. By the time the government drafts some sort of policies, it's outdated, so they have to start all over and revet new policies, and it becomes outdated because of new technology being introduced. So maybe it's a good thing it won't stall for a while.
Right. So basically, in a nutshell, if you're a hobbyist and you're a member of the AMA or you're following AMA guidelines, right, then 107 isn't an issue. Am I correct in that assumption?
Essentially, yes. I mean, if you're following our safety programming and our safety guide and you're a member, then 107 really doesn't apply to you. Now, if you want to do some light commercial work on the side, then yeah, you probably want to, well, you probably don't want to, you need to follow 107 and earn that remote pilot certificate. But generally, for the hobbyists out there, especially those within our community-based organization, 107 doesn't apply.
Now, this is an old question that I don't think applies anymore, but let's say that you're out at the field with your DVR on and you're flying an airplane and then you upload that to YouTube.
Right.
And there's an ad on your YouTube channel. Do you need to worry? Should I turn the ads off?
I know.
Any thoughts on that?
because we all remember that story from the FAA just a few years ago where they cracked down on a guy for uploading his, I don't know if it was a DJI, but a multi-rotor photo or video up on YouTube. But they quickly backpedaled from that. And I think what we're seeing from the FAA is they're primarily concerned about safety. If you are doing something unsafe, you're being careless and reckless, you're endangering others, that's when they crack down. Now, they may then at that point tack on other penalties such as, hey, not only are you careless and reckless, but you don't have a 107 or remote pilot certificate. They may tack that on as well. You know, I don't know what a fair analogy would be. Maybe it's like a seatbelt violation. They may pull you over for speeding, but then they'll tack on the seatbelt violation on top of that. They may not necessarily pull you over just for the seatbelt violation.
And then your tags.
Good analogy.
And then your tags and everything else. We're hearing this from the FAA, and we're seeing this in practice. Generally, if you see fines, it's now because of some sort of safety violation.
So the guy I'm always thinking about is, I guess because it's me, is the guy out at the airfield that is not getting 200 feet off the ground, running through gates and under trees and all that stuff. And so my listening to you talk, that is not the issue with the FAA at this point. So
no, yeah, and exactly. The FAA, they'll say this consistently. I just watched some videos from Puertas. He was talking about the 107 and preparing for that test. Safety is their cornerstone. Now, if they see, I don't want to, you know, if someone's blatantly doing commercial work and they're doing it safely, the FAA still will go after that. But yeah, they're not concerned about guys who are trying to fly safely or gals who are trying to fly safely and follow a strict code of safety conduct.
And just to keep hammering the same topic on different sides, I was watching a video of a lady lawyer. I had it in front of me, and I restarted for the broadcast to keep the bandwidth down, or I would have her name. But they were talking about line of sight and what that means to the FAA, and that does not include to them goggles. And if you have goggles on, then the question is, are you going over the 107 rule set?
Right, and that's kind of the hot topic. We just saw it in the Forbes article too, alluded to.
Right.
You know, you look at the FAA and their interpretation back a couple years ago, and this goes back to the earlier statement of the government is really struggling to keep up with technology and new trends in the industry. A couple years ago, yes, the FAA was not supportive of FPV, but you see them relaxing that a lot. For example, 107. Where we call it a spotter, they call it a visual observer, I believe, where they are permitting that. And we're hosting events across the country. For example, we're having our national championships here at AMA headquarters, FPV championship events. The FAA has looked to us to help coordinate events outside headquarters at Spaceport in New Mexico, for example. They're having a big drone event, I believe in November 11th, I believe, and they contacted us and they said, hey, we'd like you guys to help coordinate with Spaceport and help them with their FPV policies. So I think you will see the FAA change their position, but again, it goes back to government's just not designed to work quickly. But I got to give those guys credit at the FAA. They're working as fast as they can.
And that's a great point. When I knew this was coming down on Monday, I also knew that MultiGP, they're on the ground right now at the Muncie field, and I thought, well, that is a great, for me, a tester to see how that's handled. I mean, it's going to be, they're aware of it, it's going to be on the internet, all this stuff's going to happen, so we'll see how they treat that.
Exactly. So we'll know after this weekend whether or not the FAA is going to come down and start citing fines. Now, they may if there's some careless and reckless activity, but I'm fairly confident you're not going to see that.
1,000 acres of flatland, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think a good barometer for how the FAA feels about FPV is that there were multi-GP races at Oshkosh, which is an FAA-centered place, and here you have FPV being allowed. That says a lot.
And exactly. So you see it in practice. It just hasn't been updated through all their channels yet and in writing yet.
At Oshkosh, one thing that blew me away was we were there, and they were giving helicopter rides.
Right.
Not directly overhead, but all around us. And I thought, wow, now this is something I've never seen before.
Exactly. Yeah, and there were times where I was at Oshkosh as well, and and they actually had people where they would tell you, hey, there's an aircraft about ready to go
Yeah,
over.
I remember that.
2 minutes or 30 seconds.
Now the flip side of that, and I haven't heard any news on this. I hope I'm not putting out dirty laundry here, but somebody one night took a quad FPV rig up to the tower.
I heard that as well. Yes.
And that was being handled pretty seriously. I'm pretty sure that guy no longer has a license.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. I heard he had a 333, so he should have known better. But I don't know the whole story. But I agree. I mean, if there are people who are intentionally violating safety in the airspace, they need to be held accountable to that.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Whether they're a 333 or a 107 or an AMA member, if you're not being safe, there should be consequences. Exactly.
And that makes sense, and common sense, I think, is what we're all looking for.
Right.
So with all of this said, is there anything we haven't discussed or something that we should go over that you're aware of that we're not?
You know, it's moving so quickly. I just came back from a trip in D.C., and we had some great conversations with the FAA. We met with National Park Service. We're looking at helping them shape their UAS policy, possibly to open up opportunities for model aircraft there. We're years away from that probably. But it's exciting, and we're seeing a lot of, I think at first there was a lot of doom and gloom around model aircraft with the news. You hear all these bad actors or these uneducated pilots doing things, and they make frontline news stories, and a lot of people just grounded models like the National Park Service. But we're starting to see the dust settle, and people are starting to see the benefits and how it can be done safely, and how it can be done in a commercial environment, or how it can be done competitively in a safe way. So hopefully we're starting to see that shift.
Awesome. Well, the reason I contacted you is I knew that you had boots on the ground, and I originally emailed Dave Mathewson. Dave and I have known each other for, I don't know, 15 or 16 years now, and I was asking him more for myself, personal questions, and then I thought this would be a great thing to have on the live feed. So we really appreciate you coming out here and talking to us.
No, we're more than happy to help. I mean, thanks for inviting us, and if you guys have any questions or want us to chime in, give us a call.
And just so you know, everything that we do here live is then rebroadcast on YouTube forever. So it'll all change in another 3 months, but for now, if they're looking for info, that's the place to go.
Great.
Well, you can hang out with us, or I'm sure you have AMA things to do, but if not, Matt and I are going to talk about RC news and some reviews and things like that.
Perfect. I'm going to bail. Matt, congrats on your 107, and thanks for inviting us, guys.
All right. Thank you, sir. Everyone, that was Chad Budreau with the AMA Government Relations team.
All right. Good to have, I love the boots on the ground analogy. That's my favorite one that I've taken from you. And it's good to hear from the horse's mouth exactly what's going on with the AMA and FAA.
And I'm starting to feel like CNN up in here with our Croatian reporter and our AMA.
They bailed on us due to bad signal. It's really like CNN.
Yeah, I don't think it was signal related. I think it was pizza related.
That's a good, so it's hunger pangs.
Did I say that looked like a college dorm room? That looked like they'd gone back to college together.
It really did. I was waiting for some girls to come in, but alas, none did. So it's not really the college experience.
Well, I only have one thing behind me here. I'm limited because Jason is gone and I can't shoot video. There's another thing I want to talk about that you just put a news story up that I really want, but I'm not going to be greedy. I'm going to see who needs it more than I. But first, we'll talk about this thing over here. Me not drag my computer. Oh, and by the way, you can't really see it. I'm gonna have to move it somehow. But back behind me, I have my Lanes Plains Jim T sign.
Live on the air with Jim T.
And then I also have my Lanes Plains RCGroups sign, which is double cool. So this came in the mail.
The Dromeda Twin Explorer.
Yes. And for those of you that don't know, we think it's actually Dromeda, but we're gonna forever call it Dromeda because of Nikolai Zinsley.
Yes.
So this is interesting. Why? Well, it's little and it's a beginner plane. So that could mean a couple of things. I have not opened the box. Here's my knife I was telling you about from the 70s.
Yeah, that thing is a deer gutter, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, so open it up.
Oh,
I'm gonna
no.
put it. Let's put it on you here.
We're gonna have another box experience, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I see that.
I need to pre-open these things.
Seriously, what were you thinking? It's got those multiple sealed for freshness tabs on it.
Well, and this is a box opening, so that is cool. All right. Oh wait, let's smell it. Smells kind of like glue.
Yeah,
right.
That's that new car smell that'll also kill you in the long run.
Okay, good to know. All right, let's make sure you can see it here.
We got it.
I got a little spacer bar. There's an empty spot. I'd like to know what's supposed to go right there.
I would guess that maybe a charger at some point would go in there.
I have batteries for my Gamote right here. That's what my daughter used to call the remote, the Gamote.
Oh yeah.
Here's the tiny Dramita transmitter.
Look at that thing, man. That's tiny. We always called the remote the Remington Steel.
It looks kind of like Terry's brother.
Felipe.
I like these little rubber cushiony things. Those might come in handy. I tend to keep all foam for future projects. You know, back in the day, you had to wrap your receiver in foam and put battery in the foam. And I don't do it anymore, and I still am keeping foam for no reason.
I know, right?
So here's this.
All right. That's a little tiny beginner controller. I like it.
So
be careful yanking that thing out of there. Don't rip the wings off.
Yeah, the nose is kind of up in there. There we go.
Whoa, that is tiny. That is a great indoor bird.
So it has 2 brush motors. Where is the battery? This is always, as a reviewer and a guy that has to shoot a video, when you get something that only has 1 battery, you're so limited. Holy smokes. Maybe it's one cell that I have others like. So here's the rear.
Yep, that's your battery compartment. Looks like it takes a 150 size single.
Here's the battery. It's a chiclet.
What is that? It looks like a 250.
Let's test out my short eye here, see how it works. This is a 300.
Okay.
3.7. Now, I have some batteries that aren't this short, but are the same size. I wonder if I can make them work in here.
I'm sure you could shoehorn something in there. So does it have differential thrust? I don't think it does it? It's just both motors going all the time.
There's no elevator.
What?
There's no elevator control. There's no rudder control.
So it's got some up. The motors must be angled to, it's that old thing we're used to before they had elevators, or they're going to, I don't know, man.
Well, I was concerned that I couldn't videotape it because
you don't have somebody to shoot. Yeah,
but I'm pretty sure my daughter can videotape this.
Yeah, I think she can keep that in the center of the screen.
So we're talking a lot about a little plane here, but the Dramita team makes some pretty awesome intro quadcopters. And this is their first, as far as I know, foray into airplanes, at least that have come to us from Hobbico. So,
well, they have that one. They have that other pusher one, the little mini surfer style plane, and now they have what's the latest one that we just the Voyager, which is
I haven't. No one talked to me about that. It just kind of popped up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on the table. I do have something awesome coming, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Man, once again, I messed up on my links here. Before we talk about that, let's talk about a news story you just did. Everyone should find this interesting. It's from Horizon. I thought when we initially spoke about it, I thought it was a quad, but it's not.
No, it is. Yeah, it is a 29-inch flying wing that is set up straight for racing. Yeah. And let's go. Okay, so you want to share screen on it, or do you want me to pull it up on the screen?
I got it right here.
All right. Oh, yeah, you're up there.
So it's a max speed of around 90, I believe we said this morning.
Yeah, that's competitive enough. It seems like the hot dogs, the guys that are really flying fast and winning races are about between 100 and 110-ish, give or take a few miles an hour. So 90 is competitive in the right hands. I mean, you can go 110, and depending on your airframe, if you still have to be able to, turn extremely sharp, yank and bank. So it's the guy that's running the shortest line is the guy that's going to win the race usually. And it doesn't mean that just because your plane can do 100 plus miles an hour that you're going to be a winner every time. Are there those pilots out there? Sure. So this plane is perfectly capable, I think, at 90 miles an hour to change direction instantaneously as it blasts around a corner marker.
I want to point out, we posted up our live feed as a podcast last week, and we had a guy say more quadcopter crap.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was all about fixed wing stuff.
Right. And so my point, not to shine a light on negativity, my point is to say that all the FPV stuff is turning to winged craft, which is awesome because I'm finally getting good at quads, but I like airplanes.
Oh, me too. I'm always been more airplane oriented.
And Matt and I were talking about this morning, and I'm going to say it just in case anyone from Horizon is watching. I was talking to Kim from Horizon this morning, but I don't think she does a lot of podcast listening or video cast. Kudos to them for getting in the game right on top of the time frame when it's happening. Usually a company will wait a year too late to jump in. And
yeah, they started with the Manta, which is the bigger version of this that has the GoPro mount on the front of it. It sort of looks like a manta ray, and that was what they started out with in their racing, stable. And yes, it's a 90 mile an hour plane as well. So this is the real one that actually fits that class. I think it's 30 inches and under. I can't remember. I apologize.
Okay, so we're talking about it because I find it pretty interesting. It has AS3X stabilization, which I say, and I've built 2 wings now, maybe 3 or 4. And every time I'm like, man, just a little stabilization. Not a lot, just a touch. And so it's got that. Removable wings. I'll never pull the wings off. HD camera. So when they say HD camera ready, what they're saying is there's going to be a pod up here on the top where you can put
a run cam. Yeah, you got to put a flat mounted. So it's either the run cam or the Foxeer Legend or something like that. It will not fit the GoPro easily.
But they're telling me it comes with a camera and a 5.8. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, this comes with a 700 TVL sort of Fat Shark style camera, and then it also has the 200 milliwatt VTX. So it doesn't have, the Manta has a 600 milliwatt VTX, which is it'll just destroy everything in the general area. Not good for racing. 200 is perfect. Right. Yeah.
Well, here's what I would like. I'd like this wing with everything except the video and cam.
Interesting. Why?
I don't want to pay $300 when I have that equipment in boxes in the back.
Yeah, I guess they're appealing to the person that wants to get in and doesn't have anything else.
And you're probably going to pop this thing in half at some point on a gate, and being able to get the airframe is also a good option. But if you were new and you wanted everything, that's a pretty good price.
I'd say so. I'd drop $300 if I needed to get in quick. Hey, that guy wants to help you out. You want to chat with him?
Guy.
That guy.
I'm going to get this guy on the podcast. Hold on. We better chat with him. Before we do, I'm going to say that this trim scheme isn't stock. David Payne, who used to run around the country with me and Jason, or Jason and I, took 2 trim schemes and cut them together. And so that's how he got this cool trim scheme on here. Also, the Horizon guys, Steven, qualified with these wings to compete with. So
really interesting.
Yeah, that's what they qualify with.
Hey, that thing's got 9 gram Metal Gear servos in it.
Awesome.
There's Joe C from Myrtle Beach. That is not the guy that we were just looking at.
Hey, Joe C. What's up, man?
This guy's going to be like, what is going on? He's sitting in front of his computer. He's got a queue. He's like, oh, dude.
We are looking at the Type W.
Yep.
Live. Let me make that caps. Live on the RCGroups Hangout.
All right. At least you can type fast enough.
I was having a conversation at a dinner. No one at the table could type. What's it called? The standard typing?
I can't. I'm hunting peck, man. I use my 2 fingers and I can type pretty quick with them.
I was not the best guy in the class, but I'd say out of high school, other than a few other things, that's the number one thing I learned.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we lost them.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
if we start losing people here, we need to bail.
All right.
We just got them. Hey, we're looking at it live. You're live on RC Groups. Bye. Rate them good. Awesome, dude.
This guy rocks.
Excellent.
And okay. All right.
All right.
Anyway, this is
nice.
cool. I'm excited about it.
And I'm doing the Manta for a review, so I'm kind of stoked about that.
I kind of want this airplane now.
Take it.
I have a couple of
pull rank and take it.
Well, the beauty is if I get it, Jason and I both will get to fly it.
Yeah.
And Jason is the talent, and I'm just the guy who really gets excited. So
you're just the crony.
I'm the builder, the photog, the editor.
Yeah.
But if he stays in Croatia winning on that contest, I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh my God.
You seriously may have to drive to Nashville.
I can do it. I really can. I can talk to the wife and make this happen. Now, have you seen the Manta? The Manta's $419, man.
Why don't you share it with us? To me, it looked like it was too big for me. All
right. Here we go with the little screen share action. Full screen. Here we go.
I wouldn't want to get hit in the head by this thing.
Okay, so here's the Manta, and it does look at the wings. Those wings, I think, may be very close to the wings on the on yours on the Type W. They have that curl up on the end.
Oh yeah.
You're just missing the center section. So the let's see. So this one comes with AS3X technology, 600 milliwatt, same 700 TVL camera, 1800 kV outrunner motor. I think it's the same power setup too. Now, what I like about this bird, if you look on the back, yeah, I think that's the same motor. I could be wrong. So you have you have an immersion RC one, Fat Shark little mushroom on there, and this one fits a full-size GoPro right there.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a 90-mile-an-hour plane. Now, what I want on this, and is not included, is the immersion RC Easy OSD. I think you need an OSD on this. They're touting it as a quote unquote long range plane because of right here. It says long range immersion RC 600 milliwatt VTX, and I think you should be able to monitor your battery with it. And then there it is right there. There's the Easy OSD.
How much?
Well, you can get it for about $100.
Right.
And so here it is at 178, and I don't see a place to fit it. I could be wrong. There could be somewhere that it's easy to fit inside of there. But there's your bay.
So you could just carve it.
There's your bay right there. So there's no room for the immersion Easy OSD and the current sensor and all that good stuff. So
you'd have to carve it out and make your channels.
You would. I think you could do it on the bottom or the top or something like that.
I'd do it on the top.
Sure. Yeah. Not too shabby.
So what have you been building on? Anything awesome?
Not really. I guess in the whole scheme of things, I have been doing my studying and then kind of decompressing after taking the 107, which was very stressful, but it was it was very stressful leading up to it until I breathed a huge sigh of relief after I took that. And
so for those of you that don't know, the 107 or the test that Matt Gunn took would allow him to fly professionally, commercially with his DJI Phantoms and
Inspire,
whatever his rigs are, that somebody would say, hey, we need a picture of our house.
Right. Yeah. I have a mapping plane, which is right here, that Sky Hunter right there. That's got a downward facing camera in it. So that's a mapping plane. It actually it uses an Ardu Pilot APM. And I have an Inspire 1 with the X5 gimbal on it. So, it's all about being a commercial operator. And I took the tests. I set up for it. Should I just go ahead and start talking about all my experience?
Let's go straight there.
all right, so when they said that 107 was coming out, but it wasn't going to be ready until the 28th or the 24th or whatever the day was, I decided I'm going to go ahead and sign up for it because they were taking signups starting that day. So I logged on to the CATS website, which is Computer Aided Testing Services. They handle all the aspects of testing for pilots and things like that. So I went on there, signed up for it. It was ready, and then within 24 hours, a representative contacted me, and she said, "Hey, I'm with CATS. We'd like to go ahead and get you set up. Do you have any place that you want to go and test?" Well, the closest one was about an hour away in Elyria at the Lorain County Regional Airport at a place called, what did I say it was called? It was something aviation. It was a local private training school to get your pilot's license, and they have a CATS testing system there. So I signed up for it, signed up for the opening day, which was, do I remember when it was? I'm pulling it up right now, and I apologize. It's kind of been a blur. The 29th. Yep. So the 29th was the opening day, and my test was scheduled at 1 p.m. So I got there. So by the way, I have a background in flying. I have 90 hours total time, right about 90 hours, flying all sorts of single engine land airplanes. I got a couple under my belt, but I've soloed, just never got my pilot's license. And I took the written test. That's the important part, is that I took the FAA private pilot knowledge exam like 10 years ago. And I studied for 3 months for this thing. And it was different back then because they provided you with all the questions verbatim, and the pool of 700 plus questions is there, and yet you only have to answer 60 of them. So I memorized 700 questions, and it wasn't just like I didn't know anything else. I mean, I've done all my studying, I knew how, but I had to memorize those questions. So I memorized them all and took the test, and I aced it with I missed one question, got a 98 on the test, and never used it again. I flew a few times afterwards. I never bothered getting my pilot's license and doing the check ride and all that stuff because it was just too much money, and I was kind of young and didn't have a whole lot at the time. So I put it on the back burner and just pretty much let it fizzle out, never flew again. So here we go. Fast forward to 2016, and here I am armed with knowledge, 10-year-old knowledge that I've mostly forgotten.
What else did you study?
What do you mean? What else did I study going into this?
Yeah.
The FAA has a Part 107 study guide that is drastically different than what you're going to test. So I don't know. Okay, so without being a jerk, the FAA with that study guide wants you to fail because it has nothing in it there is probably 4 questions out of the 60 that were covered in that study guide. The rest of it is reading a sectional, understanding and decoding weather, protocol for contacting a tower, when to contact the tower. They put you in these positions and they say, hey, you are in section 4 on the sectional here on page 4 of your reference guide when you're taking the test. I'm all sort of ad-libbing here. And you are within 5 miles of blah, blah County Regional Airport. Can you fly? And so you have to be able to understand why, when, where, and how, where you are. They tell you, okay, you're at 36 north, longitude 101 west, and
why on earth? Why?
So,
it has nothing to do with what you're doing.
No, it does actually, because the FAA, okay. the FAA doesn't want the main thing they like. Was it Chad that we were just speaking with?
Yes, Chad Budreau.
Vlad. So Chad said that the FAA's main focus is safety, and this is right. They don't want you getting into Class B, Class Charlie airspace. They don't even want you operating in Class E airspace, which is an uncontrolled. Class E airspace would be an uncontrolled, non-towered airport, 24 hours a day. So there's nobody flying at that airport. You take your drone up, and just so happens that there's a Cessna or a Piper PA-18 on final, and something bad could happen. That's the doom and gloom situation that the FAA wants you to know where you are at all time when you're flying. So it's class. I could break it down and say the airspace that you're allowed to fly in is Class G. And Class G, I've always referred to as go for it. Class G stands for go for it. You can fly wherever you want within, obviously, the height restrictions set by the FAA for FPV. I mean, for drones. But you can, Class G is go for it. You can fly. Class E starts at 700 feet or 1,400 feet, depending on where you are. But then Class E can go down to the ground if you're at an airport with an uncontrolled tower, things like that. So these are things that you need to know. You also, they ask you questions about weather, crazy questions like when does frost happen? Like what's the ambient temperature of the ground and the air when frost occurs? Things like that. And now, granted, this is a pool of so many different questions, but you only have 60 of them. So what I got, the guy sitting next to me didn't get. He got it completely random. But they give you a percentage. The percentage, 20% of the questions are on the sectional. 5% are weight and balance related to your UAV or something like that. So I get there to zone aviation, I just remembered, and the guy, Bob, who was really cool, told me that I was not the first person there. He had somebody early this morning, and the guy failed miserably. So I was like, great, this is an awesome way to start off the day, to know that this guy bombed it. So he printed everything out. I signed my signature 200 times, which is really crazy. I had to check and double check everything that he wrote down. I had to look over his shoulder and make sure the spelling was right, because if it's not, these two separate entities that get together within the FAA, they're going to look at, okay, here's Matt Gunn and here's Matt Gunn over here, but is this Matt Gunn or Matthew Gunn? Is this Matt R. Gunn or Matthew Robert Gunn? So there's that is just one small aspect of the paperwork that I had to fill out.
You said you signed your name more times than when you bought your house.
In a jokingly sort of way, yes. It was insane the amount of time. I signed my signature no less than 7 times electronically with one of those electronic signature pads. I signed my name probably the same amount of time on paper. It was insane the amount of times that you have to check in. He looked at my ID, then he like looked at me and he's like doing this number right here. He's like, tell me your address. Like, so I'm not faking it, right? Because he's got to do that. The FAA said. He actually told me that there was an FAA audit going on when he was there, and a guy signed his name and he checked it, but he did not verify the license signature with the signature, and he said the FAA guy dinged him because the signature that the guy signed was different than what the signature on the thing. And the guy's like, give me a break, man. People sign their names differently all the time, you know. So that was interesting how finite they want their details.
This sounds to me amazingly
stressful.
Detailed. It just sounds stupid.
Yeah, it does. A lot of people have said that it sounds stupid. But and it is. But this is
boring as well. Sounds.
This is the FAA that has been operating manned aircraft since their inception, and then now they're going to offer a pilot's license for somebody that stands on the ground and flies a model airplane for hire and makes a couple of $100 or whatever shooting some aerial photos for a real estate company, and then they're like, well, here's what we know. And how do we incorporate that into unmanned aircraft? Well, they're going to pick up a lot of things that are exactly the same as manned aircraft, such as the scrutiny involved in saying who you are, and you know, they want to make sure that you're not trying to pull one over on them. So they want to make sure that's who you are. So fast forward, here we are walking into the testing area. It's time. I'm going in with another gentleman who lives, I don't know, 50, 60 miles from me. We both converged on zone aviation because it was the closest one. So I go in there and sit down at the computer screen, and the computer screen is about, oh, I don't know, this big. I mean, it is literally like, I swear it said Tandy on it. Like it was from 1991. It was yellowed. The computer, it was the smallest PC I have ever seen that was still in existence. Most of them are in landfills. And I asked him why they were so old, and he said, well, all we're doing is contacting a server. So all we have to do is, it was Windows 95 for God's sakes. And he said, all we need to do is go in the server. These computers aren't used for anything else. So I was sitting in front of this big giant yellow keyboard that was like, ka-cha, 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 you know, and
oh, I hate those. I have one right here.
Yeah, there you go. So I took the test, and it was 60 questions. I had 2 hours. I was given a book that had all the sectional information in it. Little do people know is that there is a wealth of information in that book. At the very beginning, there are legends. There are the things that tell you about airspace that are generally printed on the backside of a sectional that helps you answer questions in this test that you would not have known if you didn't have an aviation background or you didn't know to look in there. So that guy that failed miserably and missed it by one question, probably, which is what the guy said, he got like a 61 on the test. And if he had gotten a 62, he would have passed with a D. So the guy, I guarantee if he had looked at the first page on the inside of that appendix book that they give you, he probably would have passed. But he didn't know to look in there because he was probably nervous. He just jumped in there, started banging through questions, was like, oh crap, I don't know this, you know, and I don't know what your altitude you're supposed to be below and clear of clouds horizontally and vertically, you know, and so he didn't know that, and he probably failed because of that. So,
Right.
So I took the test. We both finished. When I was done, I still had an hour left. So I took another 30 minutes and took the entire test again. And when I took the entire test again, you have the ability to flag questions that you may think are you're not sure of and go back and check them later. So I had flagged a number of questions after I took them the first time. And then I went back and I referenced that first 10 pages of the included textbook and went, okay, Class B, Class C, airspace, blah, blah, blah. Let me turn off my phone here. So I actually fixed a couple of questions that I had gotten wrong because I checked the beginning of this book. So that's something that you should, anybody taking this test needs to do. And if you go to the RCGroups thread that I have my experience taking the FAA 107 test, a guy has posted that actual manual in there that you can read beforehand, and what you see in that manual is what you will be tested on during the test. So I passed it, and that was only the first part. I had to take my paperwork home. Here's my paperwork right here that says, do not lose this report.
Wow.
This is the report that you go onto another website and you type in all your information up here that says your exam ID. Basically, it's like a 30-digit exam ID code. And when you take that, you plug it in on the FAA website. The little people behind the scene take that information and they go in and they assign you, if everything matches up, they assign you your certificate. So I have a remote pilot certificate. I'm looking on the status here of it, and it says it has been transferred to the registry, which means I am now registered. In another couple of days, it'll probably update in the system, and then in another couple of days or weeks or whatever, I'll get it in the mail. But I'm good to operate now. So I have a remote operator certificate with a SUAS, small unmanned aerial system type rating.
Woo!
Yeah.
Man, the FAA just ripped all the fun out of it. Holy cow.
Yeah. So it was a lot of hoops to jump through. It cost me $150. Very little studying because I had a little bit of a background on it. But I got a B on the test, and I missed 8 questions out of the 60. So
Well, congratulations.
thanks.
And now you're almost legal.
I'm legal. I'm legal.
Background check now, though, right?
No. It's already been done behind the scenes. All that stuff's been done. I have, you don't have to do another background check. It sort of is done in the whole process. So, looks like, there you are, Jim. I thought I lost you for a second.
So the good news about all this is it really makes you want to fly an airplane that doesn't involve FPV.
That's a good statement. Yeah.
And before we get out of here, it looks like this is coming my way, the Radian XL. And I told Kim at Horizon, I said, man, we saw this at Jonal. Matt Andron had it in his hand. He was flying it. And I was like, this is awesome. It's like a sport airplane. It's a sailplane. It'd be a good FPV plane. It's everything. Have you had your eyes and hands on this yet, Matt?
No, but I had the other Radian, which was the, what was that other Radian that came out? Was
just a Radian, not a Radian XL?
The Radian Pro. So I had the Radian Pro, which is a full house version. And I honestly think they missed the mark with it. It wasn't powerful enough. Did not have a powerful motor. This fixes that. This is what they learned from the Radian Pro. So you have yeah, look at that monster. So you have the Radian Pro, and the Radian XL.
David Payne is looks a little like his own age now. Hey, David Payne. Okay, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're right. So the Radian Pro has a wingspan of 78 inches. What is this one? Over 100?
First of all, it looks like you can build it in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, 2.6 meters.
Okay.
2.6 meters is 102 inches. So it's a big boy.
Let's see what they show us here. The Radian XL 2.6 meter giant scale electric motor glider.
It's got a prop on the front and a NACA duct underneath it. Some people call it NACA, some people call it NACA.
Just chunk it and let it fly.
Look at that. It makes flybys that are worthy of a Horizon video.
It's majestic, I would say.
Oh, they went FPV and now they're rolling it. Although it's probably not FPV, it's just a camera on top.
Right.
Nice.
This is giving me a thought that has nothing to do with this airplane.
Yeah.
That I hope I will not forget.
I'm digging it.
There's your vertical power. Let's see if they really show us.
That thing should thermal extremely well. Yeah, it's a full house glider, I think, right?
Okay, so 8.5 feet.
Go to the spec section real quick.
See, it tells us a bunch of stuff. Impact resistant. Oh, stability.
Yeah, everything's got AS3X in it now. Everything.
Spoilers.
Yeah, so it's a full house glider. No, wait a minute. It's got spoilers. It does not have ailerons.
What? So no ailerons?
Oh, wait, that's what I'm saying. Go to the specs and show me real quick. Let's look.
Look at that, though. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's called an RES, which is rudder, elevator, spoilers.
I guess I could live with that on the side.
No, it's great, man. I have the E-Flight Mystique RES, and I love it. It is my go-to bird for soaring.
Jump out of this. Oops, still playing somewhere. And
I can't hear it.
Yeah. No one can hear it but me.
All right, so it is. Keep going down. They don't tell you. You got to go back. It's 5+ channel. So go back to the overview. It does not have. Stop right there. Simple elevator, rudder, throttle, spoilers. Yep, it is a RES. That's a great plane. So here's the problem with full house, they say, versus an RES, which is rudder only and then spoilers. When you have a full house glider and you start making turns at altitude, you're killing your glide. You're creating excess drag when you're using those elevators, ailerons. I apologize. So that's the problem they say with it. So unless you're using differential on it, so where you can do one up and not do the other one down, or vice versa, then you're scrubbing speed that you could be soaring with. With the RES version, you're just using your rudder. They turn a little bit slower, I guess, but if you're up at altitude and you're just hunting thermals, it doesn't really matter. And then they land so much better because instead of with those spoilers, you're killing the lift and it just sinks. It does. You don't have crow, which really kills. Just makes drag. You have them that just kills the lift. So it's really, I really like the RES versions a lot. So I think it's going to be a winner.
Well, I'm pretty excited about it. I really wanted it when I saw it. So it looks like something, if you had a couple of batteries, you could just head to the field, chunk it, and just sit there on a park bench. And
Yep, I've taken my, I run my RES Mystique on 4S. I think it's a 4S 1300, the lightest pack that I can fit in it. And it is a really good rocket ship. Here, I'll show you. It's this guy right here. You've all seen it before. Here's the Mystique RES by E-Flight. Here's the whole tail is a stabilator. So yeah, so this is a really good ship. I enjoy flying this thing so much, and I can go out and get in a thermal and fly for an hour sometimes because it really does stay up, even though it is got the extra weight of the motor and battery in it. It's a really good thermaler.
Thermaler.
Oh my god, thermaler.
Thermaler. Well, we have more stuff, and I guess we'll get an update from Mr. Jason next week. I don't know how much you can say, but
yeah, he's being pretty secretive. I hope that I hope it's everything that we're hoping it's going to be. Like I want to see this broadcast. I want to see some arguments between teams. I want to see something crash into the pits, and then all of a sudden it's like that drama music, and then they go off screen, and John's like, I don't know what Bob was thinking, man. He shouldn't be on this team.
If only he had a vector.
If only he had a vector, and then somebody, and then there's like a torrid love affair with some other girl, and this has got to be drama. I don't want to see just a bunch of guys building and flying RC. I need some drama.
Well, I guess we'll find out. A lot of these shows, they shoot them, and then after they cut them all together, they sell them to a network. So I bet we don't even know what network it'll be on until it's over.
Well, let's hope that it's going to be on Spike or
Spike.
Is Spike even a station anymore?
I haven't seen it in a long time.
No. What is BattleBots on? Is it ABC?
No.
Or, History Channel.
History, the Learning Channel.
Hey, they'll put it on that Science Channel, I bet. Yeah,
guess we'll find out.
That would be nice. That would be really nice. I'm looking forward to that.
So 15 years ago, I worked for a TV company, and I wrote concepts for television shows. And one show I had, the concept of it was RC Dogfight. And teams competed each week, and they had little lasers that they would shoot, and they would go up, and you could fly any kind of plane you wanted. So you could take a profile 3D plane and pit it against a warbird or whatever.
Go on.
And we would have cameras, and then you would be a nose view of one plane chasing the other with a rear view of the plane after you, and you get a certain amount of laser hits, and then you're simply powered off. You still have control of the airplane, and then teams would compete until we got to the top two, and that would be the last episode. The problem is that none of the technology that I was talking about existed, but now it all does.
Yeah, I mean, you see the Tamiya fighting tanks; they do the same thing,
right? Except in the air. And FPV dogfighting, come on, how does that not exist? How can I not in my goggles via vector or whatever be able to shoot a laser pulse at a thing that's on your airplane and score hits and things like that?
I think that needs to happen. We have the technology. We can build it.
The more I talk, the more I like what's coming out of my head.
Don't they have that? No, they started that. Okay. We reported on this early last year of a laser FPV dogfight system that never took off. Pun not intended.
Oh.
FPV. Let's see. This right now. Oh my gosh, back in 2009? No, that's not it. I apologize. I can't find it, but it was there. It was like a laser tag thing that we reported on, and it never got done. It was actually a company that was going to do it.
If you're listening and you're going to go ahead and do this idea, I suggest a medium-sized wing made out of EPP, and you get the wing and the laser pack, and all in one kit.
I found it. I found the article from October 22nd of 2013. You want me to share screen?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Full screen. Share. Dogfighter system. Here it is, the Dogfighter Combat System for FPV. Infrared combat for your FPV aircraft. I wrote this article in 2013. So it's taken, okay, this was something that NG Hobbies has. It's a dogfighter system is a revolutionary product line which can be used in several different setups. Originally developed to complement the ForceFly Advanced Force Feedback Control. What is that? The Dogfighter Combat System gives the FPV pilots weapons.
I think this control is one we've seen in our sidebar in an ad where it's like a realistic airplane control set that you can use to fly RC plane.
Yeah, look, this guy's got a couple of multiplex fun jets there. And then, so you got your dogfighter control system. There's your LEDs that pick it up, and there's your laser. Pew, pew.
Click the link and see if it exists.
Okay, here we go. Let's see how good where's the link? There it is. I should know. I've always put my links at the bottom. Wop, wop, wop.
Da, 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 da.
Sorry, the product was not found. So it didn't happen. It didn't happen, guys. Oh man, that's a bummer.
Someone will do it.
Well, there's no patent on it probably, so please make it happen, Jim. Hey, let's talk to our good friends at beep 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 beep.
Yeah.
That happened.
Hey, I want to say behind me is a box, and in that box is a kit for an airplane. Mark Shope. That's over here.
Yeah.
Mark Shope sent me this box. We're going to give this away. So at the end of September, I have my yearly event in Nashville, Tennessee, the world's largest and most active. No, it's the largest gathering of profile 3D planes in the world, I think. And we all meet in the field out here in Nashville, Leapers Fork, Tennessee, and we spend about 5 days standing around flying airplanes. And so I've really honed this contest, this event into a machine. There's no demos. There's no noontime demos. There's no demos. There's no raffle. There's no contests. No one wins or loses. Everyone just flies and has a good time. It's called NashBro. And that's going down the last weekend of September. I believe it's September 21st or the 25th. And thanks, Mark, for sending this kit to donate. Basically, there's no fee to go to this event, but we do gather money up to pay for gas and mowing and lights and porta-johns because people tend to use those things.
Is NashBro mostly a southeastern sort of cult following? You don't hear a lot of people in the Midwest and northwest quadrant of the country that are profile brotherhood.
I think you're incorrect on that, my friend.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, tell me.
Well, we have SimNet comes out of Muncie. That's Sloan's Evil Minions, and they all come down in mass in a RV called the Duck, which the Wounded Duck, which always breaks down twice before it gets here. And then we have people come in from Hawaii. We have people drive up from Florida. We have, I know they're coming because I have their shirts made. I have guys coming down from New York. And so they come in from all over the country. This is kind of, a lot of people, this is their vacation. So they take time off and spend a week out in the pasture with us. And that's, instead of going to Mexico, they go to the pasture.
Who started NashBro?
Jim T. Graham.
Oh, really?
Well, I am.
I mean, I'm not sitting here upselling you. I'm really curious.
No. The Pro Bros. It's on the shirt. It's not in front of me. I think the Pro Bros were invented around 96 or something, and I invented it. Basically, we were just a rogue group of 3D flyers, and at that time, we were the FPV pilots, drone pilots of the industry. Everyone thought that 3D was going to ruin the hobby, and that it should be. And it was outlawed at fields. And if you started 3Ding, people would get mad at you. And so that's when the website started up. That's kind of how I wound up working for RCGroups, because I had my own forum in the first place, so I already had done it. And then there were events all over the country. There still are. And we're kind of the underground secret society of 3D pilots. Now that we're older, all of us are not 28 anymore, 26. You will find you'll find DLGs, you'll find scale airplanes. We have guys bringing sail planes down. So while it is a 3D profile event, everything starts going in the air about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Nice. Now there is, for those that don't know, there's an official Pro Bro song that Jim Graham made and created. Says something like, isn't it something like "Screw you, we're the Pro Bros" or something?
I did make that song.
No, let me get before you go anywhere. Back in the day when I wasn't an employee, but I was still doing reviews, I was looking for music for a review. And Jim was always like, "Hey, you can use any of my music that I found." So apparently he had a couple of songs in mind that I would use, and he didn't have this song in mind, which I found. I don't know if you remember this, Jim, but I found "Screw You, We're the Pro Bros," and I put it to the music of one of my reviews.
Did I ask? I'm like, hey.
And you were like, "Hey, you're gonna probably need to take that off of there." It was me flying a quad, and it was like, "Screw you, we're the Pro Bros." Screw you.
I got on my cowboy hat, a pair of sunglasses, a profile plane, and a Pro Bro shirt, something like that.
It was a great song. It really still is a great song, and I would like to use it again in a review.
Now, there was a Pro Bro named Stumpy, and Stumpy was an LA rocker professional, and he did a song called "The Pro Bros." And it's awesome. I mean, you could hear it on the radio, and if you weren't listening, you wouldn't realize it was talking about profile flying.
Nice. Well, I got to listen to that one.
I may add a link to that if I can find it. I know it's in a bunch of Pro Bro videos. In fact, I will. When we do the story about this broadcast, I will add a link so you can go listen to Stumpy's song, because it's killer.
Put yours in there too. It's good.
Once again, underground society. We're an underground secret society.
Oh man, well we busted through an hour and we did pretty darn well, didn't we?
All right. Well, we've been to Croatia. We had the AMA legal team, or the government team. Matt Gunn recounted the horrific tale of bowing down to the FAA and kissing their ring. And sorry, Matt. And we looked at some airplanes. So a success.
Yeah, it was a good day. All
right. Well, tomorrow's Friday, unless you're listening to this on a different day, and then it's not. But to some folks, every day is Friday. I'm Jim T. Graham, your host, and we've been joined by Matt Gunn. Thank you, Matt.
Yep, Thursday's the new Friday. I'm not working tomorrow.
I want to that's more of a mental concept. I want to thank Brad Budreau for hanging out with us from the AMA. I called up Dave Matthewson. He said, "No problem. Just tell him where to be, and he'll be there." Thank you, sir. And John from Eagle Tree and Jason Cole from RCGroups, both joining us from a faraway country. I hope they make it back.
Yeah, Chad had a really good video signal, didn't he? It was very professional. We got to look into that. What camera he's using?
We could do that, but we have found over the years that being more homey, actually works a little better, because
I like that.
We're just doing our thing. Really, I'm gonna leave after I say the goal of this broadcast. The broadcast is here to talk about RC, our experiences in the field, stuff we're excited about, and just having a good time.
Yep, and we often have banter, which is usually preceded by "Ladies and gentlemen, banter," which is my way of saying we've gotten off track.
And we also really keep a lot of banter down comparatively based on banter before and after the show. So
yeah.
Lucky y'all. I think if we did a show where we just talked about the stuff we really talk about, this thing would blow up.
It would have a shock value and probably wouldn't be allowed on YouTube Kids.
Maybe when I'm independently retired, we can We can go there.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Jim T. Graham, Matt Gunn, RC Groups. Join us next week on the next RC Groups Hangout. And now I'm hitting the stop button, but not until I hear that faded word from Matt Gunn.
Hot trigger!
Hot trigger!